I will show you how I built this log firewood shed. I'm getting ready to install this wood stove in my shop, and I need to have fuel for the fire, so I went up to the woods to get firewood, and I started bringing it home, and as you can see, I'm accumulating quite a bit of it. I quickly realized I'm in desperate need for a firewood shed, so I cleared out a spot behind my shop, and I did a rough sketch out of what I wanted to build. So on the back of the shed, I used 4x4 posts going from the ground up, and a 2x10 or maybe it's a 2x12 header going horizontal. So when I was up in the woods getting firewood, I noticed there's a lot of straight pieces of logs that I could use to build a firewood shed, so I started bringing them home. And here's a lot of logs. This is just a quick sample of what I was seeing when I went up there. And the next clip here, you'll see some of the better ones leaning against the shop. I positioned rebar into the ground where I want to have concrete piers coming out. So I took this old cylinder made of cardboard and I cut it to the length that I want for each pier. And this is 12 inches wide. Well, that's just way too wide. So I was able to modify it and narrow it down so the end result will be about 8 inches. So here I'm just cutting out some extra meat. I was having a hard time with the cylinder here getting a smooth radius, so I was able to use this pot as a jig to help give me the look I was looking for. It really helped a lot using this. It was able to secure it, and then I just used a staple gun to lock it into place. Came out really nice. I used 3 out of 4. So again, this is the sketch that I drew of the face of the shed. I have my clear spaces. I have a 5-foot clear space on the right and an 8-foot clear space on the left. The string line on the bottom here, this keeps everything in line with the 3 of them so they're straight with one another. And the rebar coming out, that's exactly where the piers are going to go, so let's dig those out. I'm just double checking my clear space and make sure everything's good. Now even though the end piers are 15 feet from each other, they're still level with one another. Now it's getting late as I pour this, so the next morning you'll see that it's all good. Now take note of the rebar is still where it was originally, and only now instead of it being embedded in the dirt, it's embedded in the concrete. This rebar is going to be the pin that locks the bottom of the logs in. Now I'm taking the legs, I'm cutting the legs to length, and I'm going to drill out the hole for the pin of the rebar that you saw in the last couple clips. I have the narrow part of the diameter of the log of the trunk on the legs at the bottom. It flares out at the head. So basically, after the tree was cut down, I flipped it upside down and have the fatter part up top. Thought it would give it a better look. Not only does it give it a better look, it gives it more surface area at the top for the header to rest on. So I'm using some plywood strips here to plumb up all 3 of my legs, the posts. I have all 3 installed, as you can see. Now when someone plumbs tapered legs like this, you always pull from the center. What I'm doing here is you'll see that I have additional plywood strips to lock in at the very top of these legs, and that's going to lock in the headers because I'm working by myself, and when I have the headers up there, I don't want them to fall forward or backwards. It's on both sides of the log. Once I get the headers up there, I'll be able to scribe them down so it sits on a flat surface. And then I'll just use a pin or a lag bolt to secure the header down to each of the legs. That's pretty much it for this part. There's a lot of footage on here and my computer would get messed up or crashes, so I had to make 3 parts. But this is just a little sample of part 2. It's got to get everything scribed in, got the 2 header pieces and all the cross pieces from front to back. If I didn't mention it before, it's just going to be a lean-to shed. Keeping it simple, I think the front of it's 8 inches taller than the back, so the water will drain off on the back. And also the dimension of the shed is 9 foot deep and 20 foot wide. And here I was messing around with slow motion. Watch, in a second you'll see the front collapse. Bam! Yeah, anyways, find part 2. I'll put it in the description. And part 2 will get all the headers done and all the cross pieces, and I have to do a part 3 also, and that's going to be the completion of the little project.